Hey guys, what's up? This is Stock Retail. I wanted to come back to you off at a really exciting weekend with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse just came out. If you didn't see, that did about $121 million at the domestic box office just this opening weekend. So awesome numbers. There was one point even just a week ago that some industry websites were only saying like $80 million for the weekend. So that just gives you kind of an idea of how awesome that was. Just on the heels of that, I've been telling you guys there's a few charts I share now and then that I wanted to refresh when it was time to refresh, and boy, is it time. So I'm going to share some really great information today. It's all going to be fact-based as usual. And then for those who don't always stick around to the end, I know some of you kind of bounce after just a few minutes in. I really encourage you to fast forward. I've got kind of a surprise announcement at the end of this. I swear that's not clickbait. That's why I'm even giving you the opportunity to just fast forward if you just prefer. But there's definitely something at the end of this that you will want to know, and I think I may be the first person sharing it with you. I don't know. We'll have to find out. So I'm going to try to go through quickly, in part because you guys all want to have your Sunday evenings, and then in part because I've got a kid waiting for me to do something fun. So we're going to just bounce right through this. All right. First off, the domestic box office. We're 155 days into the year. We are now tracking across 155 days an average of gaining $5 million a day versus last year. So that's like a small movie every day that we're basically gaining on last year. In other words, we're doing more revenue per day at a rate of $5 million a day, 155 days into the year here. So you can see we're almost about to kiss being $800 million ahead of last year. If you've watched some past videos, I told you by the end of this quarter that I thought we'd be about $880 million ahead of last year. I'm a little lower than that now, but we're still tracking close to that. So then you can see why we're about to hit $800 million ahead of last year's box office so far. Daily view on the left, that's those 155 days. Weekly view on the right, so you can just kind of see that line basically smoothed out. They're really the same line. It's just a little more smoothed out in this weekly view. And you can see these last 4 weeks, really the last 3 weeks, just boom, 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 tracking upward. What a straight line that is, too. I mean, I like to troll Shorty with that. Like, that is the line you're shorting if you're shorting this industry. Whew, that is up and to the right very steeply. And, that's before a lot more movies coming, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. All right, food and beverage sales, though. It's not just that we're having more box office receipts. Did you see today what Adam tweeted? You can see here I'm highlighting the highest food and bev sales per person ever in May. Ever. Highest month ever in May. The highest month ever for food and bev sales per person for AMC. And what I want to just show you is if you've tracked my forecasts and you kind of have seen, I don't know, a certain level of accuracy from me, how bullish that would be. So I had a forecast of $7.03 a person for this quarter that I've been using. And you can see I've kind of drawn this green line from the all-time high in May, basically, in Q2. I had kind of read his tweet wrong, but this will still work. So if you look at Q2 of 21, we were at, you can see at the top here, $7.32 a person. I'm only forecasting $7.03 this quarter. And so if he's saying May just finished the biggest month ever, odds are it's something higher than that $7.32 a person. If we were to hit that $7.32 a person for the quarter, that would add another $15 million to my forecast. So that's not trivial. It's not something small. So that's just a big deal that, we just booked a third of the quarter at a record number. I'm sure April was at a very high number. I remember him tweeting a couple times about some all-time records for a couple of days during the week and one time for a weekend. So clearly food and beverage sales are probably going to beat my forecast. And that's just what I'm showing at the far right. I've gone ahead and brought in my Q2 forecast so you can see how far under the line is if we're talking record numbers. It'd be great. All right, so also attendance. This is a forecast here, but I've been pretty accurate with those. Basically, I think AMC may get above 70 million attendees for the quarter globally. You can just see this is all of kind of post-COVID here I'm showing you. Well, since 2021. Attendance has just been rocketing up. I'm going to kind of skip past that. Just a few miscellaneous stats. I just want you to get a sense of how well this business is going. And if you're not an ape, then here's some free DD for you if you're thinking about investing in this industry and in the distributor with the largest network of any movie theater there is, biggest market share. So we've had 4 $200 million weekends before at the domestic box office since COVID. 2 of those are just this quarter. And I think we've got more coming. So you can just see how far advanced we have gotten. I'm projecting the top 10 domestic box office movies are going to land at about $2.25 billion. You can see here that 2.23. The previous best on our top 10 was 1.95. So that would be our top 10 versus any other best top 10 post-COVID. We're up 15% this quarter. But here's what's really cool. If you remember a while back, I did a video kind of anti-FUD on someone saying it's only the blockbusters that are growing or whatever. But look at this third bullet. The rest of the quarter, for all of the non-top 10 movies, the best we had so far was Q2 of last year. That was $372 million. So if you look at just the non-top 10 movies, that was about $1/3 billion. This quarter, it's looking like we're going to land over $500 million. That'd be 43% growth. So the faster growth rate is coming outside of those top 10 movies. You can see the top 10 movies were growing double digits in revenue, but in the outside the top 10 movies, we're growing like high double digits. So what that tells me is it's something I said in the first video I ever made. We're getting more movies and we're getting more big movies. That is awesome, which is driving all of this attendance and these food and beverage sales. All right, there's only 2 quarters, last bullet here, post-COVID that have been above $2 billion at the domestic box office. This quarter is going to hit that $2 billion with 3 weeks still left to go. I think it's happening later this week is my point. And that's before we see Transformers, The Flash, Indiana Jones, Elemental, The Blackening, and Asteroid City and some other movies. So you can just hear on some of these miscellaneous stats how insanely awesome this quarter is. Nothing new. I've been telling you that was coming since, honestly, that first video 9 months ago. I said Q2 was our time, and I just want you to see how well it's going. I'll kind of revisit a slide I did in another video just to show you that visually. That really high bar, this top bar, is this quarter we're in now. That was my kind of revenue, total domestic box office forecast. So you can just see these bars as the movie industry. This is the domestic box office. And I was kind of comparing the last 3 quarters we just finished to these next 3 quarters we're now in. And you can just see what a radical jump that is and why Adam's also been pretty vocal. Today you might have seen his tweet about 333. Well, interesting. I swear to you, this was coincidental. It just was visually standing out to me that I picked these 3 quarters and then looked at these 3 quarters. But boy, oh boy, I mean, even if you think I'm wrong, and by the way, I've said in other videos I don't think I've had a quarter yet where I've been more than, say, 4% off. So I've had like 96% accuracy or better every quarter for the domestic box office forecast. So if I'm anywhere close, even if I'm wrong and these are a little lower, you can just see the idea that we have just jumped to a whole new place in the movie industry. And I don't think we're going back. Like, it's over. The stock price hasn't reflected it yet, but it's over. The other thing I've said a few times, and I've been beating this drum real loudly, if you didn't know, we had a positive cash flow quarter before. That was Q4 of 2021. You can see I've got those numbers up here. We had something called free cash flow. That's a really critical metric, one that I value a lot. We had free cash flow of a positive $8 million that quarter, and we had cash from operations. That's like if you actually have your doors open, is your business bringing in more money than it costs you to have your doors open, basically. That quarter, cash from operations was a positive $47 million. And so you can see, just compared to that quarter, we didn't have popcorn then, we didn't have the credit card then, and boy, oh boy, look at the jump in the box office. If you don't think we're in positive cash flows right now, I honestly don't know what to tell you. And the reason I beat that drum so loud is day in, day out, Shorty's trying to scare you about cash flows, and I am not buying it. I think that cash flows are positive now, and I think they're positive even if you combine the entire final 9 months of this year, and then 2024 gets even better. All right, that final surprise announcement. This might be one of my fastest videos ever. You're welcome. Or if you like listening to me drone on, then I apologize that this one was fast. I believe, this is huge, guys. This is seriously not clickbait. I believe Q2 that we're in right now is going to be, drum roll, AMC's all-time record for quarterly revenue. I guess I'm putting myself out there. I could end up being wrong. I always tell you guys, if you have a forecast, it's wrong. This is a forward-looking view. I believe AMC's Q2 revenue right now is going to be the all-time record, which would beat Q2 of 2019. So you can see Q2 is a good quarter in general. You get Easter, you get Memorial Weekend, and you get June kind of rounding into the summer. So awesome, awesome news. And if you've heard me in other videos, you know that I believe AMC's expenses in many cases, not I believe, it's been shown, it's a factual statement. Many of AMC's expenses are actually better than pre-COVID. So if we're going to hit record revenues while the expenses are a little bit better than they've been, you can imagine that I believe this is a profitable quarter. So just wait for that August earnings call. I think things are going awesome. Go see one of those movies. If you haven't seen them all, go see all of them. And then certainly this week, I just would strongly encourage everybody. I believe that Transformers movie with that ape being so prominent and some of the messaging they've used, certainly it could just be clever marketing, but there's certainly marketing to the apes. And I'd like to sort of send a message to people who are going to make stories for and marketing for the apes that we will show up. So I'm definitely going to show up and see Rise of the Beasts this week. Hope you will too. Maybe I'll see you there. Let's go.